Now, she is an international supermodel, an actress. She's earned an MBE and a master's degree in metaphysics. Not bad for a woman who grew up in an Edinburgh housing estate. But on top of all that, Eunice Olumide is also a prominent racial equality campaigner. And she's petitioning the Scottish Parliament to include Scotland's slave trading past in the national curriculum. I caught up with her earlier today. I wanted to know if she thought the recent protests had changed the country's attitude to race.
I definitely think that there's a lot of significant, meaningful change happening. I have seen literally people just on social media discussing how much they've learned in a short period of time.
And where are we on all of this in Scotland? How far do we have to go here as a country, as a people?
I think that we have still got a long way to go. I think the government can play a huge role in that by, really reforming the education system, making sure that we're at least teaching the real facts about how we are and how we came to be as a nation.
I mean, you've got this 5-point plan, a set of demands that you want to make, and changing the Scottish curriculum is right at the centre of that. Why is that so important? What do you want to see, and what difference will it make? What practical difference will it make?
The first thing I really wanted to do was to affect policy, and that's why I started my petition to Parliament to ensure that we teach Afro-Caribbean, what I actually like to call African Scottish history. As much as I call it Afro-Scottish history, it is Scottish history, it's British history. That's why we have these street names, that's why we have these different statues, and it's really important for people to understand their relevance, how they got there, and how those things affect our lives today.
Yeah, what difference would it make to you if these statues, like there's a statue to Dundas that sits not far from here, right, in St Andrew's Square. What difference would it make to you if that came down, or if Dundas Street was renamed, or Glassford Street in Glasgow, or Ingram Street in Glasgow? What actual difference would that make to you?
I think it would be absolutely brilliant for a lot of these very prominent, significant statues to be, I would imagine, more renamed or added to, as opposed to be removed, because I would be concerned that we might lose really important history.
So don't bring down the statues, don't change the names, just tell people why they're there and why these people were significant at their time.
History is important, and if we remove everything, there's a danger that we could lose that history altogether, and that doesn't mean that the problem's going to change. So if we rename these statues in an appropriate manner, and we state this person had this many slaves, or this person was accused of these crimes against humanity, that seems like a better way to deal with it, at least initially.
What about the issue of reparations, of money being paid by governments of countries who were involved in the slave trade all those years ago to countries who suffered as a result of the slave trade?
I definitely think that reparations should be given. I think it is multifaceted and I think it is complex, but if we have historical evidence that proves a link, that proves that something has happened that I would consider to be a crime of war, in fact, then of course we should do something to compensate those individuals or potentially even those countries.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of evidence around of Scotland's involvement in the slave trade. There's no disputing any of that. So do you think that they should be getting the chequebook out in here? The Scottish Government should be writing cheques to individuals or to countries, to Jamaica, for example. Is that realistic?
It's not about just getting your chequebook out. It's about having very specific, perhaps a new committee needs to be formed, for example. And through that committee, you then reach out to these nations. You then find those individuals, organisations within those countries and communities who are experts in this field, who understand the history, the dual history, and who understand as well what that money would best be spent on. What are the strategic and specific ways that we can contribute back to, or that we can try to make some kind of amends for what we have taken.
You're talking about a very long-termist, mature, considered, measured approach where discussions are had and committees are formed. But at the moment, there's a load of anger in the whole debate about, the Black Lives Matter debate, the racial equality debate. There's a lot of fire and fury in there. Do you think that's too much? Do you think that might be detracting from the bigger message?
I don't think that you can say that the anger, the public outcry, the horror that people are expressing is ever too much. I mean, I find it mind-blowing that in the 21st century, police can murder people in the street. I can't understand it. I think that anybody that witnesses something like that should react in that way. That's what proves that we are human beings.
And are you confident things are going to change now? Real, meaningful change?
I'm getting some really positive signs back from many different people, and I really think that Scottish people want social justice, do not believe in racism, do not believe in discrimination, and I really feel that it's the voice of the people which is speaking now. And if MPs and politicians don't listen to the population, then what is their purpose?
That was Eunice Olamide speaking to Martin a little bit earlier today. Now, here's a question. What is Kanye West up to? At the weekend, the hip-hop's megastar said he'll run for US president in November. But he's a big fan of Donald Trump, who, of course, is seeking 4 more years in the White House. So what's going on? We'll speak in a moment to a man who literally wrote the book on Kanye. But first, here's the Nine's India Grant.
18 years, she got one of your kids, got you for 18 years.
He's been an R&B superstar for more than 10 years. His music has been in and out of the charts, and Kanye, well, he's been in